On today's adventure, we're being joined by my two friends, Spencer and Bradley, as we search for a very special rattlesnake here in Eglin Airforce Base. This protected and well-managed longleaf pine forest is home to an incredible amount of pygmy rattlesnakes, and some of them just happen to be a color morph that I've never seen. So we're going to be covering as much ground as possible this week in hopes of finding one. North Florida is a well-known home to the dusky pygmy rattler, and upon arrival, we were almost immediately greeted by our first pygmy. What you got there, Spencer?
Little baby pygmy rattlesnake. That's exciting right there. Back where I'm from in North Carolina, these are exceptionally rare. It is just nice to see that these snakes are in good numbers, reproducing. This is probably this year's baby. Just to see a new generation of these little vipers, it's just so encouraging.
This time of year, these newborn snakes will just be emerging. And while I'm sure we'll see a few, I'm really after an anery pygmy. Something that I've actually never seen before. This pygmy rattlesnake actually lacks its usual reg pigments. In many parts of their range this is pretty rare, but on this Air Force base they're relatively common. As the evening rolled around, we weren't seeing too much, and we decided to stop by one of the local rivers. These habitats are often great for rattlesnakes to stop by, but they also harbor lots of other wildlife, especially when nighttime rolls around.
You little fool! Step on you. I got him with my toes. Oh, he's leaving. But he's leaving in the shallow water. The fool. The fool. Oh, you little man. You little fool. Got him. Intermediate musk turtle, my first one. They're kind of like our razorback musks back home. They're a bit smaller. They don't have that ridge, but they're a really pretty turtle. Got a lot of spots on them, very similar to razorbacks. Kind of like a mix between a razorback and a stink pot. They are a musk turtle species. You can see kind of a smaller shell. This is the first one that I've seen, and gosh, these rivers are gorgeous. I mean, just look around us, crystal clear water. And the rivers back home, I wouldn't be able to see that turtle nearly as well, but there he was, hanging out right there. Really cute little guy. They eat lots of little clams, stuff like that. And as you can see, they're not fast. I pinned him down with my foot and just chased him back that way. Oh, that is an awesome turtle. We're gonna go ahead and put this little guy back and keep looking for more, but that is incredible. Little intermediate musk turtle.
Next day, we're back on the hunt for pygmies. It did take us a while this time, but eventually we started running into them again.
Bradley, what do we got here?
Right here we have a dusky pygmy rattlesnake. This is about average size for, a young adult. This one is regular out here. You can get some of the anerythristic ones, which lack any type of red pigment. So hopefully we can see one of those this week as well. We're gonna take a look at it, get some pictures and video, and then move it to the other side.
Wow, you didn't even try to steal clout. You weren't like, oh, yo, subscribe to my
Subscribe to my channel.
There we go. I gotta make
Zach is gonna link me in the description.
Exactly. Or I'm gonna link a Rickroll down there.
Well,
you'll never know.
A cool snake, but definitely not my pygmy. This is definitely your more typical coloration. After a good bit of cruising around, it was time to hit the trails and see if we could find anything in the surrounding habitats. These dense longleaf habitats have a crazy amount of life. You just gotta know where to look for them.
Have a look at this. This is a great place to find something. And right behind this piece of bark, have a look at this. That is a little scarlet king snake. This is the first one I've ever found behind this kind of bark. And that's really cool to see. Whenever they burn these areas, it can oftentimes help these dead trees kind of loosen up the bark, and that creates habitat for this, a scarlet king snake. What they do is they come up to these trees to thermoregulate. So when it's sunny in the morning, they come and sit behind this bark, and it gets really warm, and then they switch sides, they move around it a bunch. Now whenever you're looking for snakes on pine bark, it's very important to remember that you leave the bark on there. Now you might think, well, that's because of habitat preservation, right? Yes, but in areas like this, there's a lot of habitat for these snakes. So why do you want to leave the bark? Quite frankly, it's more for you. It's for the people that want to see these animals, because I can come back here a year from now, 2 years, and if they haven't burned again and all this bark is still here, I can peek there again and see a scarlet king, just as easy as ever. It's very important to do the practice properly. You don't want to come through here ripping everything off. That's just no good. One, it's not good for you. Two, it's not good for the animals. So nobody wins. So you don't want to be doing that. This is one of my favorite snakes out here, and this is one of the 3 tricolor species that you'll find. That is a little scarlet king snake. Really cool little animal. Have a look at this little snake. Not sure if you can see him well there. Have a look at that. That is a dusky pygmy rattlesnake. This is actually a very common species here in North Florida. And what you're looking at here is actually a slight color morph of your typical dusky. This is an anery pygmy. You can see he's got a little bit of orange on his head, but he doesn't have near the amount of colors that your typical pygmy rattlesnake would be having. Now, as you can hear in the background a little bit, we're on the Air Force Base. And they manage this habitat incredibly well. They do a lot of their training out here. And this would be considered a landmine to any of the recruits coming out here. If you're ever doing any kind of Army or Air Force work out here, this is a species that you watch out for. The biologists leave them on purpose for you guys to run into. Because this is one of those snakes that if you get tagged by it, you're gonna have a really rough time. You're most likely not gonna die from it, but you're gonna have a really rough time. And being in the military, you're gonna have to learn how to deal with forests, wooded areas, and any kind of biological hazards in the process. This is an incredible native species, and about 50% of the rattlesnakes here, roughly, are gonna have this coloration. Whenever you see them like this, they're typically not going anywhere. But if you catch one out on the move, they're a super hyper snake, and they're very, very defensive. If I were to try to grab this snake, he'd bite me immediately. If I stand over him, he's gonna lunge at me. This snake is capable of leaping much more than other rattlesnake species. They're so small, and they would have such a short range. So what they do is they spring. In fact, if he really tried to get me, he could probably spring to me right now. I'm in no danger simply because of how calm he is. But if he turns towards me, I've got to back up a good foot, because this snake probably has its own length as its strike range, which is really crazy. I'm gonna go ahead and pull him out real quick, because that is a gorgeous little snake to be seeing. And I'd like to stretch him out so y'all can see this snake fully. Let me get that first loop. Pygmies are notoriously difficult to use snake hooks on, and my snake hook is particularly not good with pygmies. I might do. Get in the hat, bud. Come here, you. Such a wiry snake, I tell you. Pygmy rattlesnakes are super hyper. Now my hat is thick enough, he could not bite through this. He's not gonna even know to bite through this, but even if he did try, he wouldn't be able to get through it. But this is like the brightest thing that I had to put him on, to where y'all can kind of see that lack of red pigmentation on this animal. Have a look at that snake. Very fat, very healthy. Now what you're seeing me do right now, never go and try this. Not only have I had expert help in learning how to do this, more so than most people, I've caught a lot of different pygmy rattlesnakes. I've caught duskies, I've caught westerns, and I've caught Carolinas. This is a species I'm used to dealing with on top of all the other venomous snakes that I've learned to handle. I know exactly what he's capable of, and I know his disposition. The only way that I would ever get bit by one of these snakes is if I do something incredibly stupid that I know not to do. There are rules, and there are things that you are supposed to do when you're handling one of these snakes. And the only reason that I'm even doing this is to show you guys how incredible these snakes are, to show you the amazing colorations of an anery pig, and to show you their disposition. He's wiry. This is a wiry little snake. They're not going to come after you. They're going to try their best to get away from you. He's trying to get away from me. But this is a snake not to be messed with, and I'm showing y'all that. I mean, the hat, he should be able to stay in the hat pretty easily. Most snakes, even a non-venomous snake, would sit in there pretty comfortably. He is not going to do that. He is not going to sit still. He just wants to go. Wow, what a stunning little pygmy. One of my favorite species, definitely my favorite rattlesnake species in the US. What an incredible guy. If you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to check out some of our other pygmy rattlesnakes we filmed in the past. An incredible animal for sure. And we will see you guys next time. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and let him back under his palmetto. That is an awesome little snake. See, bud? Palmetto. That is an awesome little snake. Woo!